welcome back into the Dropkick Basement, your favorite pro wrestling history podcast. My name is Mike Madden. I am leading the charge on this one with my compadre, Tom Schultz. Tom, how are you today?
Feeling good. Ready to hit a Topeka Hilo on the listeners.
Yes. Yeah. We have decided, because the hottest thing in pro wrestling this week has been the infusion of La AAA, the AAA wrestlers, into WWE programming. Tom and I decided to be super timely and introduce to the Dropkick Basement faithful a concept that we are going to be mining quite often. It's something that we kind of put our heads together and said, well, let's be a little bit different. Let's retire the Mount Rushmore of things, and let's come up with a concept on our own that we think you guys are going to like. Road tested this on the Captain and Madden show a couple weeks ago and got some decent feedback. So we are bringing aboard the dream team of a particular topic. And in this case, because we are lucha-centric this week, we are going to be reviewing our dream team of luchadores. Tom, your history with Lucha Libre, just briefly, if you can share with us.
So I think the first introduction I had to Lucha Libre was ECW. In like 1995?
95, yeah.
Yeah. Seeing guys like Eddie and Ray and all that stuff, and then the infusion of the luchadors into the cruiserweight scene in WCW. That was my first forte. Mm-hmm. And since then, I have casually kept up with like Triple Mania and
Sure.
things of that nature, and the infusion of now lucha into the American companies like AEW and WWE. I mean, not. I wouldn't say it was my strong suit, okay, but I have a baseline knowledge of the lucha style.
Yeah, I think that's what we're both coming into this with. It's sort of we know it exists. We don't know every storyline, but if you start mentioning major names and guys that have developed through AAA that have crossed over, again, as you said, recently into a lot of the companies that we watch on a regular basis. Plus, even think about guys that have like gone on an excursion to Japan or England, and you catch wind that they're having these great matches across the world. It kind of it allows you to sort of like just taste test and sample what the Mexican scene has grown, and obviously you the listeners are going to hear a lot of household names, a lot of guys that you've seen on your TV primarily through the major companies, and we hope to give a little bit of context as to why they are as important as they are presented, not only in our eyes but also in in the world's point of view, because it's very interesting. Like you mentioned WCW, and they had their breakout stars and they had their guys that were given major storylines, but I mean, at some point, because of their working agreement with AAA, they probably had about like 15 or 20 like luchadors under contract.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It was a lot of guys to keep up with, and a lot of guys that like maybe did one-offs or two-off appearances that you were like, wow, I really want to like check this guy out more. And the old tape trader in me, I had a video of When Worlds Collide, which was a co-branded pay-per-view between AAA, IWC, and the WCW. Some of the lower-level WCW guys at the time, produced by WCW. So I saw it a little bit before ECW got their hands on it, and obviously we'll go over a lot of the finer points of this, but But it was really like that was WCW gets a lot of credit for hiring a bunch of the guys or using them, but I think it was really ECW that broadened them and put them in spotlight showcases first, so that you could say, wow, look how exciting they can be, and and what the future could hold if these guys make it in America and can show off. So the Dream Team will have 12 wrestlers on it, 7 of which are your bench players. And then we will talk more in depth about the starting 5 once we get to the starting 5. And obviously we will have a team captain at the end of that. So let's inbound the ball here. We're going to do a lot of metaphors. We're doing a basketball metaphor. We're doing Mexican wrestling metaphors. We promise you, although I will just disclaimer real fast, Mr. Iguana, who is everybody's flavor of the month, WWE on their socials is going nuts for this guy. Yes. Mr. Iguana did not make the Dream Team.
He did not, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Iguana was a part of an old episode in the archives of the Tournament of Gimmicks.
He should have been. I'm
pretty sure he was.
I think I mentioned him because I've seen Mr. Iguana in action at a certain canceled wrestlers wee wee party in 2019. Mr. Iguana, it was actually a multi-man. What I think they labeled it as an interspecies match, where Mr. Iguana, Shark Boy, beloved Tournament of Gimmicks runner-up, Beast Mortos, Ultimo Dragon, and Puma King. It was a multi-man match. I believe at between matches, I did go over to say hi and to do a little bit of shtick with Shark Boy, and I did get a chance to see Mr. Iguana, and I shook his hand and I said, "Good stuff in there." So I was on the cusp of Mr. Iguana.
Yeah. You're early on.
I was an early supporter 6 years ago. Iguana Mania had already been in my brain, so. But let's not get off track. Let's get back to the action, and we're going to start off the number 12 guy that is on our Lucha Libre. And yeah, you guys are going to roast me in the comments section. Yep, I encourage 100%. It completely. I have been pronouncing these names and practicing pronouncing names all afternoon, so I am super excited. The number 12 guy on our countdown, on our team, so to speak, Mil Mascaras.
And I think that, pronunciation aside, this may be the most controversial pick of the of the Dream Team, having Mil Mascaras ride the very end of the bench.
Well, and I think a lot of it comes from a tainted point of view of people inside the industry, and also like seeing kind of dead end matches with Mascaras towards the end of his career. A lot of people didn't get along with him. Famously I think he had a fight at one of the Cauliflower Alley.
Oh, did
with like the Destroyer, Dick Beyer. Both like masked guys who had like wrestled in Mexico and Japan decades ago, and they still had like real heat, or they were like working the boys or whatever at Cauliflower. But Mascaras kind of has a reputation like he's a bit of a he's a prima donna, no jobs, no bumps, no wanted to really work soft with Cactus Jack, and Jack's, what was that, a Clash of Champions?
Yes,
in 90.
Yeah.
And Jack is like dropping himself on his back and his head, and of course, like I think it's Jim Ross and Kevin
Cornette.
Sullivan. Oh, maybe it's Corny. Yeah, maybe it's Corny. Yeah. And they're both like going nuts for like Jack, basically like risking life and limb and taking the softest drop kicks in the world from Mil Mascaras. But what can't be undersold, again, the guy, his career went back to the 60s. Before there was even defined companies in Mexico and promotions to work, where it was just under the banner of Lucha Libre. in Arena Mexico, Mascaras would come in and he would be, a nationwide hero. Took the mantle from El Santo during that time. And I think what's more important is he had the universal appeal. So the mask was over.
Yeah.
He was treated as a specialty. So much in the way that Andre the Giant was, where you were like, hey, we're going to bring in Mil Mascaras during summertime, and we'll have him in Florida or we'll have him in New York. He's wrestled at the Garden many times. He was I think he did at least 2 or 3 matches against Billy Graham in the 70s. Bill Apter loved to put him on the magazine covers. He had an
His look was great.
Yeah, he had an impressive physique, great upper body. At that time, like he was, I guess it was a little bit hard for him to work with guys in the U.S. Because it was more of a physical, brute, body slams and suplexes and takedowns, and he wanted to do, a little bit more of the acrobatic stuff. But they would find a place on the card for him, whether he was in the main event or whether he was a featured attraction. Worked everywhere, did a lot, did movies, did appearances on Mexican television as well as American talk shows. I believe he was on like a Merv Griffin or a Mike Douglas talk shows. So he was definitely an ambassador for Lucha Libre wrestling. We can call him soft, but he certainly did make an impact. So he's lucky that we're going to be good to him and keep him on the countdown.
Yeah, I think we're kind of going against our better judgment.
And also, I just want to point out that he was never unmasked in the ring, and he apparently is very rarely seen without the mask on. Even to this day, like he's holding the gimmick up. So we'll move on. Number 11, Blue Demon. And you've got a few notes for Blue Demon, don't you, Tom?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, one of the more iconic and, like, I would say, like, pillars of Lucha Libre. Mm-hmm. Not someone that I'm, like, terribly familiar with when it comes to, like, their in-ring style or their in-ring work, being that he retired the year I was born. So
what a shame. Somebody should have told him.
But I mean, like, so one of the first action figures I got was at like CVS or something, and it's just one of those like generic.
Yeah,
it's not like branded to anything, and it's a Blue Demon action figure.
That's great.
Because it's just blue trunks, silver trim. Like,
yeah,
if you know anyone who buys like a random lucha mask, it's most likely you've seen the Blue Demon.
It could be, yeah. It definitely could be modeled after Blue Demon's mask because it's got an iconic look to it. It's basic. So
yes,
I'm sure as we get on with this, there'll be a lot more guys we could talk about how elaborate their masks are. But Demon definitely, like, and that's the one thing that I kind of remember is that the mask, it's not flashy, but it's the type of thing like if you showed a non-wrestling fan that picture, they would say, "Oh, that's a wrestler."
Yeah.
Right? You would definitely say like, "Oh, that's a Mexican pro wrestler," like for sure. Like he fits the archetype of the look. So very iconic.
Exactly. He had like a long storied feud with El Santo, who is another like staple of Lucha Libre. Wrestled again, much like Mil Mascaras, had his stints in the United States. Wrestled for almost like 40 years. Yeah. And that's what you see with like a lot of these older lucha guys. They were able to protect themselves in the ring and spanned generations, which I think is what gives them their legendary status is they had multiple generations of fans that their careers unfolded in front of.
Oh, very true. Yeah, yeah, and that's what sort of cements their legacy even outside of Mexico, because you can look something up and you can, like, again, doing research for this, like looking on Wikipedia and just saying like, all right, wow, look how dotted this guy's career is, and he started in 1974, or he started in like Mascaras in the 60s, or Demon in the late 60s, I'm sure. So
Blue Demon started in like the late 40s.
Oh, he goes back that far.
Like goes way back. And again, like when it comes to a lot of these elder statesmen in the Lucha Libre game, they have the gimmick that follows them. The Hijo del.
Yes. Blue Demon Jr.
Blue Demon Jr. is another huge name in Lucha Libre, but Blue Demon was the forefather of that, and their family name has spanned 50, 60, 70 years in Lucha Libre. So like that's where I think, again, not too familiar with everything that he's done in the ring and stuff like that, but definitely a pillar of the early Lucha Libre scene in Mexico.
For sure. So moving on to number 10, we've got Pero Aguayo, one of the headliners for that When Worlds Collide pay-per-view from '94, wrestled in in a cage. I think he was putting his career up against Conan, and a guy like when I think of him, and certainly he's not as imposing and big and frightening as Brody, but he's got a Brody presence about him.
Absolutely.
In his style, like he was always a brawler. He was always, he wore the fur boots, and he did a lot of like, the crowd taunts, and worked magnificent heel, and also like could be a beloved babyface when the time was right. Certainly like a very unique when it came to that presentation, because when you think of lucha, obviously your brain goes, hey, you got to have high flyers, you got to have guys that are, at least come off the top, or they're going to have like crazy submissions. Paraguayo, I think, had like a power slam was his finish. It wasn't, nothing was flashy, but it was physical, and he could get after it, and he could rile a crowd up pretty well, from any of the footage that I've seen from Peto.
Yeah, and again, like to cement the babyface luchadors who are taking all these high risks and doing all these death-defying moves, you need the counterpart heel that is going to pose the biggest threat to them. And Paraguayo's style of wrestling in the Lucha Libre scope of things kind of, posed... it was the opposite of everything that the baby faces were all about, and so that kind of made it work even better, as opposed to just having two guys who are having this high flying blah 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 blah. He's gonna come in, he's gonna bloody you up, he's gonna
tear at masks,
beat you down,
He although like I will stop us here and make sure that we're not using too many U.S. terms. Rudos for heels and technicos. So yes, but he's also like, when I think about him and the feuds that he had with like high flying guys, or the matches at least that I've seen him with high flying guys, great lucha base.
Yes,
and I think that's something that just needs to be touched on a lot. Is that when you talk about like the history of lucha, and I would point this more towards the guys that had longer careers, they end up being guys that could help get over the high flying and set up some of the high flyers and the death defying moves that they could do. You need a good base, whether they're a Rudo or a Technico. You need a good base that's going to be able to catch you, when you're doing an outside dive, set you up for, some sort of like a corkscrew or a flip to the outside or a flip back to the inside, and make it look, impressive that like they got out of this submission hold or you had them in a suplex and they figured out a way to corkscrew out of it. Like, and that was one thing that I've always like been impressed by Pero. And even his son, rest in peace,
Yes.
Perito Aguayo, who almost made my list. But yeah, he was another guy like in a younger generation who knew how to get heat, and he learned all of that from his father, and was also like, again, just a great like base for the more charismatic high flyers. So that's it for number 10, Pero Aguayo. Moving on to number 9, El Último Dragón, who is an absolute. He's a unicorn in the lucha world.
Yes.
Was taught a hybrid style. So originally, Yoshihiro Asai trained in Japan. Started his own freaking company in Japan. One of the indies. What was he? He eventually was Toraman, but he did.
Yeah.
Was he part of War? I believe he was part of War.
Was he?
In like 92 to 94.
Okay.
But also obviously like came over to wrestle in CMLL, worked some of the indies, eventually, wrestled in AAA. Then, as we know, really made his international mark in the United States, WCW. The creator and innovator of the Asai Moonsault. Just, I think, pound for pound, one of the most influential guys through the history, especially the last like 25 years of pro wrestling, where you do see this hybrid style of, a little bit of American wrestling mixed with Japanese, kicking, striking, submission, and then you have the out of this world high flying lucha style. So he could do it all. Managed by Sonny Ono, for the most part in his WCW career. There is that famous picture. I mean, there's a few of them that had the famous picture where they were winning all of the international belts.
Oh yeah, there's like 13 titles.
Yeah, Ultimo had like the I think he had the King picture where he had like, I think he was up to 13 or 15 after beating Sasuke for a bunch of those. But yeah, like he's hard to beat. And he had to be, in my opinion, he had to be on this dream team because dude's coming off the bench if we need him to come off the bench. Because he could be in the conversation. Although it wasn't as long of a career, dealt with a lot of injuries and, travel issues and, just a desire to be back in Japan more often than not. But for the flashes that he was in the U.S. and in and around the international scene, one of the most phenomenal workers of the 90s.
Absolutely, and I think maybe his ties to lucha may get overlooked a bit because of the Japanese heritage that he has, and it's not the typical luchador. Like appearance-wise, yes,
yeah,
but he was also an extremely technical wrestler, and I think that maybe his high flying influences and his lucha style gets overlooked a little bit because of how well rounded of a wrestler he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, and this is, you're thinking of his peak, which would have been probably 97, 98.
Yeah,
and you think about like, all right, well, Rey Mysterio's in the United States at that time. Jushin Liger is coming into WCW like every 6 or 8 months and there's a lot of like, you can basically say like Ultimo Dragon's in the center between what Liger was doing in the light heavyweight division for New Japan and what Rey Mysterio was bringing in to the cruiserweight division from being time as a light heavyweight champion and a welterweight champion for AAA. So like they met in the middle, and they had Ultimo Dragon to work off of. I mentioned it before with Pero. I think Ultimo is also another guy that's very underrated when it comes to being a base. You know, I can vividly remember a lot of those like those opening matches on WCW pay-per-views, and here he is up against Ray or Hoovy or even Dean Malenko, and he's got guys that don't have a problem getting off their feet, and he, whether it's through a submission hold or whether it's through just cooperation, is easy to catch them and get them going where they need to go onto their next set of moves. And I think that comes with, you know, his being a trainer. Pretty much like from the beginning of his career, he was a trainer, but also like his time in Mexico, like learning the style and being able to say, all right, I can be up to speed with the rest of these guys, whether we speak the language or not. We're going to be able to communicate in the ring and do that. So kudos to him. Moving along, we do have the, I think the most known, the god of Lucha Libre is next.
I would say he's like the ultimate luchador.
He's El Santo.
He's El Santo.
And he's the legend. He's the one that started it all for the most part. Yes, there was wrestling in Mexico. But he's the iconic mask, he's the silver mask. Movies, TV, comic books. There's statues in Mexico of El Santo. There's there's freaking songs written about him. Like he basically, like, if there's a Babe Ruth of Lucha Libre, I'm not even going to compare him to anybody else in wrestling. I'm not going to say, oh, he's the Ric Flair of Mexico or he's the Hulk Hogan of Mexico. El Santo,
he did it all. He started it.
Yeah.
He when it comes, you can argue that like when it comes to wrestling, the American audience that compares international talent to, let's say, Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan. I mean, Santo was wrestling 30 years before Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan
even thought about it.
Even started. Exactly. And so really, Hulk Hogan's the El Santo of America.
It's true, but when you talk about guys who transcend the sport in that way, I think that's where it's tough, because if you're looking at North America, right? Mexico's in North America still.
Yes.
You know, you're going to have pillars, but there's always like this argument of like, well, who's the greatest? And yeah, I think modern times would say that there's other guys, and they'll be on our list that would qualify as the greatest. But even if the greatest says, yeah, like I get that, I understand that, they will always point to the person that started it before them. And in this case, like, everybody would point their finger and say there is no lucha. There's no lucha style. There is no innovation. There is no sort of cultural equivalent to El Santo.
No.
I think he's on par with Ricky Dozan in Japan, where you don't have professional wrestling in Japan without Ricky Dozan. You do not have Lucha Libre in Mexico without El Santo. He was way before my time, and I just saw last night while I was doing research, I just saw about a 5-minute clip of him wrestling in a match. It was I believe it was an Arena Mexico match, or and it was something from, it wasn't even from like his heyday. I think it was from like the, maybe the 60s.
Okay.
But he's still with the head scissors, with the flying body presses, with the go behinds. He's still like lightning fast. And anytime I watch that archival footage and you watch that old footage, it's usually like, here's a guy that's just grinding it out. Here's some cool submission holds or some escapes that guys get in and out of, but there's nothing, aside from maybe a handful of guys like Antonino Rocca that were doing the high spot drop kicks, or the running of the ropes was the one thing I was like, Jesus Christ, like this guy could keep up with the fastest in the world right now. Like he was very lightning fast, and so he's a fun watch if you ever get a chance to go back. Also a guy that, like as you mentioned before, Blue Demon was one of his longtime opponents. Gory Guerrero was both a partner and an opponent of El Santo through the years. So everybody can run because El Santo walked. And and I will give WWE a lot of credit. Like they pulled out all the stops to like make sure that El Santo was revered when they did this, especially now that they're doing this sort of leaning into the lucha culture and how everything. He's ground zero, so deserves to be on here.
And I think could have gotten maybe a higher spot on, maybe a starting spot even, had we been more familiar with his work. But being that he wrestled from the late 30s into maybe the
70s, early 70s,
late 70s, maybe early 80s, like it's not someone that I've seen a ton on, but the legend and the mark that he made on not only Lucha Libre but the wrestling industry as a whole. I mean, it would be a crime not to put him on this team. I will, in some capacity.
In a brief sidebar, I will say that when I worked at the record store that I worked at, we had CDs, DVDs, video cassettes, stuff like that, and it was in the Woodbridge area.
Okay.
Anybody in New Jersey that's familiar with it. So we had like an international movie section.
Boy.
Which used to be, well, you're just like thinking like, all right, well, those international movies, like you're going to get like stuff that's Oscar nominated. There was a whole section of, because I guess at that time when DVDs were first coming out, it was cheap to like put a bunch out, and there would be like these, like a whole row of like El Santo films. Not that they sold a lot, but it was basically like somebody was like, kind of digging through the archives, and they were like, well, we can put these on DVD. We can sell them for $10. People might like them. I don't know why they never made it to the wrestling section, because we had a pretty big wrestling DVD section. Why they were always in international is that's for another day or time. But but yeah, they were there, and I always kind of like looked at them and kind of thought to myself like, this is not nobody in my, especially my generation. Like, there were guys that got popular and were household names, but this is. El Santo is a different cat. So
The Rock should give El Santo.
Oh yeah, sure.
Many residuals.
Oh, mucho. Because
they consider him to be the all-time wrestling movie guy. Yeah, but without El Santo, I don't think Dwayne's doing Fast and the Furious 19.
Might not be
next year.
Might not be. So let's move. We're actually going to combine at the number 7 spot. We're going to combine two guys that are really synonymous with each other. Pentagon, El Penta Sierra Mel, and Rey Phoenix, the Lucha Bros. Now, in my mind, and I know that they're both phenomenal away from each other, the most memorable stuff that they have is their tag team matches and their absolute like wars with the Young Bucks. And that I guess that period, if you would say between 2015 and till just recently when they both left for WWE, just prolific. Wrestled everywhere. Won everybody's tag team titles, headlined everybody's show, wrestled the best and sometimes the worst. And they're just so damn entertaining, and they're taking up the mantle right now. I think they're both two of the lead guys that you think about. If there's a true wrestling fan that goes out there and watches week to week, they're always going to say that either it's Phoenix and Pentagon, or separately Phoenix or Pentagon. You know, even as opponents, they always deliver, in my opinion. They're brand new to WWE, so hopefully, and Penta's being treated extremely well.
Yes.
And Rey Fenix is undeniable, in my opinion. Rey Fenix is one of my favorite wrestlers on earth to watch. I can't get over his body control, his ability to dazzle in the ring, and to use the ropes as a springboard is it's unbelievable how good he is. And Penta's menacing. There's no doubt about it that there's a presence, and there's a lot of stuff that he's taken from their father. There's a lot of stuff that they've taken from La Parca and a lot of other guys from the past. But the two of them are just they're a certified hit, in my opinion. I'm sure you share a lot of the same sentiment.
I would say so together as a unit, almost untouchable. Especially as a lucha tag team, they are untouchable. But individually, I would say Rey Fenix makes the prototypical modern day Technico, and Penta makes the prototypical modern day Rudo.
Yes,
they are the perfect representation of good and bad. And but Penta has the ability, I think, to go back and forth, whereas Phoenix is kind of a little bit relegated to being a babyface.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially in America, being that he doesn't have the promo ability, but the two of them are. I mean, they are the face of Lucha Libre modern day.
Yes.
And I think that, for younger fans, they are going to go down as some of the guys that we're going to mention in our starting five. They will 100% be maybe 1 and 2 in years to come.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's no doubt. And if used right, sky's the limit for both of the guys, but Jesus Christ, you've seen Penta in big time when they've shined him up in that Lucha Underground promotion, and they were protected that armbar, or the was it the armbar? Or was not? There was the
arm breaker.
Arm breaker.
Yeah.
When you protect a move like that and you give it lore, that's a license to print money, and if he turns heel at any point in that company, and that's his go-to, on top of being able to stun the crowd with high flying and with sort of that menacing personality, he could be very special. And I root for them. I root for both of them. Extremely mucho as they would say. Also, just to mention, as I said about Mr. Iguana, Lucha Bros were on that cancel person wee wee party in 2019, so I got to see them live. Yeah. I got to see them live as they were on their we're hitting every promotion tour, and I was can't wait to see more of these guys in person. They deliver the goods. So we're getting a little bit closer to our starting five. One more guy on the bench, and he is the chairman of WCW.
Yeah.
The always captivating, always exciting La Barca. And when I say La Barca, I am encapsulating LA Park, Le Parc.
Oh yeah.
It's the same guy in my opinion.
Yeah.
give me just an encapsulation of the name of La Barca, and I am interested and intrigued. The Thriller entrance, the dancing, this guy can goof around for 70% of the match, and then and he's fucking fat.
Yeah.
La Parca's not a thin man. And he's a lucha base, so he's got a bigger body frame. But when he needs to fly, La Parca can get up and jump. The first in-person lucha that I saw, ECW Arena, October of 1995, on a very cursed card. The middle of, I guess, just before intermission, or a couple of matches before intermission, was a tag team scramble with Rey Mysterio and Conan versus La Barca and Psicosis. And I came away at the end of that, even though I was scared out of my mind that I was going to inhale smoke and potentially die in the ECW Arena. And I had seen some pretty, shocking and phenomenal stuff that night. The one thing that I walked away from it, I was like, that Lucha Libre match fucking slapped, and it was so awesome, and I can't wait to see it on television. And they clipped it on TV, and they didn't show the whole thing, and it was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You just want to sell videotapes, don't you? Well, guess what? You can't sell that videotape because now it's evidence. But yeah, no, La Parca's a hell of a lot of fun. The WCW run. He was involved with the angle where Diamond Dallas Page dressed up in La Parca's costume.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he threw the diamond cutter on Randy Savage. Thank God the DDP decided that he wanted to take La Parca's costume and do some of the La Parca mannerisms before. He's still, there's a version of La Parca that just, re-debuted recently in AAA. I think that's a gimmick that lives forever because it's so.
Oh yeah,
it's so fucking unique. I'm throwing a lot of roses at La Parca's feet, so I'll turn it over to you for a sec to give me your La Parca.
La Parca, one of my all-time favorite lucha guys. Yeah, 100% the most charismatic. Lucha guy who doesn't speak. That's another component of a lot of these guys you wind up cutting promos and stuff, and he's just doing his dance. He's playing his chair guitar.
Playing the chair guitar, right?
And again, it's a lot of the stuff that these legendary lucha guys have is the legacy and the longevity, regardless of who is in that costume.
Yeah,
it's like Kiss. Gene Simmons has always said, Kiss will live on forever because Kiss is the makeup.
Right.
La Parca is the outfit, the persona, the dancing, everything that comes with it. That's La Parca. It's not particularly who plays him, and that's what's going to live on in the Lucha Libre legacies.
Yeah,
for probably forever.
It should be.
I mean,
it should be forever.
There's gonna be a El Hijo del La Parca or whatever we do.
Well, they'll just resell the gimmick to somebody else who's, and I think the La Parca that they just debuted is much skinnier than the original La Parca.
Gotta fatten them up.
So either you fatten them up or you're like, now La Parca flies. Watch him go. But no, he's fucking exciting. They did have him speak. He had a speaking gimmick in WCW when Vince Russo first. And they were using, I think it was like Stevie Ray's voice backstage. So La Parca had like a gimmick where he would talk ghetto.
Oh.
And it would be like, what you talking about, fool? And it was like, holy shit, this is awful on a couple different levels.
Yeah.
God bless you, La Parca, that you're participating in this. But so let's now move on to our starting five.
Starting five.
We got to dim the lights and do our chord introductions. Number 5.
The spotlight has just shined on mid-court.
Yes. We mentioned his father on the bench. He'll be cheering on his son, El Hijo del Santo. A guy, again, just I think he recently retired. And there's an El Hijo del Santo that just debuted recently. He's got one of those. He doesn't transcend his father by any means, but he's got one of those type of long careers that is tied to everybody that did anything important in Mexico over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Has had, just like his father did, but I think it's a bigger conglomeration of guys. Wrestled at when Worlds Collide. He was in the 2 out of 3 falls captain's match. It was El Hijo del Santo and Octagon Jr. defending their masks against the Los Gringos Locos, Eddie Guerrero and Love Machine Art Bar. Mask versus hair for the tag team championships in a 5-star match. An absolute clinic when it comes to Lucha Libre storytelling. You had the seconds at ringside. You had the 2 referees where you had the evil referee, Tirantes, and you had the babyface referee. The crowd was so into it. And this is the hallmark to good storytelling. It all stemmed from Eddie Guerrero originally teaming with El Hijo del Santo before he turned heel. And Eddie turned on him just like Gory Guerrero had turned on El Santo. So there were so many callbacks. There's a great video online that maybe I'll leave in the links to the comment section by, I believe it's either Joseph Monticello or it's Kim Justice. Or it might be somebody else, but it's one of those guys in those veins that does a deep dive into the history of a particular character, and he tells the story of Eddie Guerrero's heel turn in Mexico, and a phenomenal job, great footage, and El Hijo del Santo he's the cornerstone in that whole thing. Can never get the leg up on anybody in Los Gringos Locos or the stables or the sub-stables, and just in addition to that, a great high flyer, more of a high flyer than his father ever was, but also had a lot of his signature in-ring moves and mannerisms. The mask is almost identical. I think he had some sort of so it was mostly gray, but it had a little bit of gold trim to the mask. So you can see where there's a little bit of crossover and homage to El Santo. Did movies just like his father, did comic books, action figures, so had a lot of the same trajectory, but I think with a little bit more of the modern lucha take to it through his career.
Yeah, it's again the legacy in Lucha Libre is a big part of it, and I think, like you said, more high fly. He's considered to be a better in-ring performer than his father was, and now that comes with the evolution of wrestling and where things went from the mid 60s to the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But another guy that had a 40-ish year career, and did almost everything that his father did, and just carried on that legacy for another 40 years. So you're talking about almost 80 years between these two guys, and and just carrying that family name on for that long and being that relevant and a top guy for that extended period of time. It's crazy to be a draw, to have the Santo name be
Yeah.
a draw for nearly 80 years is
That means a lot. Yeah,
outrageous.
it certainly means a lot, and it's a you know, again, now you got it. It's carrying on with his with the sons and
The heel.
the future generations. So you love to see it. So we're going to put him in our starting five. The next guy in our starting five, a huge draw in Mexico. Still one of the biggest draws at Arena Mexico every Friday when they run their shows. Místico. Now he's got a bit of a rough legacy when it comes to negotiating his name. And a lot of that had to do with how over he got. So he really hit his peak and his stride in the mid 2000s, and we've talked about this before. Like he's one of the biggest draws in Mexico for CMLL that they've ever had. And he's in the early days of YouTube, putting out like compilations of wrestlers' highlights. That's how I discovered Mystico. It was like, here's the top 25 moves of Mystico. And it's like, he almost looks like when he's really on pace and he's really hitting ropes and he's, he's doing a lot of the planches and outside to inside, dives and whatever it may be. He looks like a paper airplane. I think that's the easiest way to describe it, is that like he looks like somebody's throwing him.
He's so aerodynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And then, couple that with how he gets into the armbar, the Mystica, the La Mystica, I should say. He's fun to watch. He had that sojourn to WWE where he was Sin Cara because he did not want to. In his brain, he was like, I'm going to have a long career in WWE. The problem was they had nobody in there that could work his style. Like, yeah, you could like get a few guys that could work Lucha with a much smaller Rey Mysterio, but Mystico or Sin Cara was a little bit bigger, and there wasn't anybody that could kind of handle his. And they weren't really given. They left training wheels on the poor guy. I guess that's the best way to describe it. He didn't talk either. He was very, man with no face. So, maybe he was handcuffed. He was there for 4 or 5 years. Lost when he want to go back to Mexico. He lost the rights to the Mystico name because they had sold it out from under him. So he was Mestasis. He was Dralistico. But now, like in the last 5 years, he's gotten, he's gotten that set up so he can wrestle, and now he's with CMLL and on AEW television as the original Mystico. So yeah, like he will always in my brain. I think about those YouTube clips and like reading about him and the high praise that he got from every journalist around the world. Like, he might have not had the greatest opponents, but he was so damn over with that crowd in Mexico that he was untouchable for a long time. He was untouchable. So, that's why I put him in there. Curious what your thoughts are for Mystico.
And I think that like in a time where Lucha Libre was kind of on the down trend. The everything in Mexico wasn't at the heights that it was once was in the early 90s, and I think that's because many of their major stars were taken and brought to America. He was the shining light in that period of time in the mid 2000s. So he like took what everyone looked at as Lucha Libre that we were introduced to in the American style in the late 90s, and he elevated it
For sure. Yeah.
from there. He was the bridge, I would say, from one guy, like the big guys, to the next.
Yeah. I think so.
Mystico was the guy that, and although he may have not gotten all the recognition because of the weird transition that he had into WWE and like his introduction to the majority of the American audience, I do think that his place will be solidified by his work that was done in Mexico, and we can kind of forget about the Sin Cara era.
Yeah, you can carve that out. Just scoop that one out. But another guy, like when I think about him, he's got, before he left, when he came back, Ultimo Guerrero was a star because his feud with Mystico and his matches with Mystico. Hechicero now. Everybody's favorite luchador is Hechicero. And I think a lot of that has to do with working against Mystico as the main Rudo in Arena Mexico so many times and in multi-man matches and having an interaction and being able to play off of him. I think he elevates everybody that's on that roster, especially when he does show up in other promotions, especially AEW, where it's like, all right, like here's the proposed 6-man or 8-man tag match, and then it's like Mystico is part of it, and he's got a lot of attention, and the crowd recognizes him, and they respect him from his years of work. So, by all means, I think he's having a great renaissance, and the partnership that they're going to have with AEW going forward is going to be tremendous for him. So, all right, so top 3 time. And I think this top 3, everybody's going to know our top 3. So I don't know really if there's much to be said other than just platitudes at this point. Our number 3 is Eddie Guerrero.
And I would say that of the top 3, the only reason that Eddie is at 3 is because of his untimely demise.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that he went to America much earlier than everybody else and stayed there. And basically,
that's true, yeah.
I think, he learned what he learned and developed the character that he developed in Mexico and the style that he wanted to work in Mexico. And then it was like, well, the big league is calling and I've got a chance to really like stamp my legacy. So he didn't, unfortunately, yes, he did die young, but he didn't have that sort of post, because I think he definitely would have had a great post career touring in Mexico if his body could hold up to it. But yeah, one of the quintessential guys, because he's a heel, he's a babyface, he's beloved on both sides of that equator. So yeah, he's definitely in there. I don't think anybody who's listening to this is going to say any bad things about the late Eddie Guerrero.
No, absolutely not.
So that moves us to number 2, and number 2, when you think about guys that had crossover appeal and could, be the face of lucha outside of the wrestling context, Conan is certainly a guy that had he was over immediately. As soon as he started wrestling, they were like, this is a heartthrob. This is a guy that's going to be a cornerstone. He was the cornerstone of AAA when they started it up.
Yep.
And he was synonymous with them, even to this day. Like, Conan is part of it. He's gone off and done a million different side things, and he can be on everybody's top list of wrestlers based out of Mexico. Never the greatest in the ring. I'm just going to be honest. But like a great ambassador for lucha, and he had his own style, so he certainly gets high praise on our list as well.
And when we were saying earlier, like, you don't want to call El Santo the this or that of Mexico, I feel like Conan was always referred to as the Hulk Hogan of Mexico.
Yes, he was.
Like, he was kind of like the guy who has the most crossover appeal, the guy who is a big star, the guy who has a look, may not be the best in the ring, but had a career that spanned generations and did as much as he did in the ring as he did out of the ring.
For sure. I agree with you full-fledged on that one. Conan deserves. And Tequila Sunrise is still a fucking fantastic submission hold, by the way.
So good.
So,
Also, great name.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Tequila Sunrise. Number one, I don't think anybody's going to...
No.
This isn't a mystery to anybody. Rey Mysterio Jr. It's not a list of lucha guys without the guy that actually continues to wrestle at a high level. Maybe not the highest level that he did before, but he's the face of Mexican wrestling. He's one of the faces of WWE for the last 25 years. Let's be perfectly honest. He could be on a list of like one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yes.
In ring, unmatched, the ultimate underdog. Never made sense to take the mask off him to begin with, but WCW, he sucked as a heel when they turned him heel, and he was part of the Filthy Animals, and but it never really worked because here's little Ray. He's got his young looking face. Yeah, he may have devil horns like affixed to his head, but like he still does the greatest moves in the wrestling business. Again, I go back to tape trading, and Rey Mysterio was on that when Worlds Collide.
Yeah,
it was him and Psychosis, and he was married to Psychosis for a good 4 or 5 year period where it was like that was the match, just like they did in the 2000s Indies. That would be the match that they would bring everywhere. It went to Japan. It went to ECW. It was in Mexico. It eventually made it to WCW. Like, it was marquee. It was exciting. It allowed ECW actually when Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko went to WCW. It allowed them to have, here's a nice replacement. The month after you guys are gone, we're going to start this 3-match series with the Lucha guys that we're bringing in, and they fit so well, and they adapted extremely well. Ray was able to cut promos, even though he was a little bit sheepish at the time. He still got involved, and then he had another set of matches with Hoovy.
Yeah.
And then again, why wouldn't WCW come calling at that point, and the big leagues come calling?
And then I mean, the programs he had over the years with Eddie and countless people. He was
the Punk feud is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, when Punk's singing "Happy Birthday" to his daughter.
He's done so much that's transcended Lucha Libre. And I would say probably still to this day one of the top merch sellers of all time in the history of professional wrestling.
I had listed here, so AAA, ECW, WCW, WWE. I forget that he worked Lucha Underground for a little while.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was at the first All In. Him, Rey Fenix, and Bandito versus the Bucks and Kota Ibushi. That was the main event match. Wrestled in Japan. Wrestled everything but CMLL.
Yeah.
Always a Mexican independent and then AAA guy. So that's, again, when you think about Ray and you're like, did he ever work Arena Mexico? That's maybe when he does actually retire, maybe he does get a chance to, work there at least once. You'd love to see it. I do think his in-ring career is probably very much at its end. He's been at it for a long time and taken a lot of injuries, but he's a cornerstone. And I don't think you say Lucha Libre in the last 20 years without saying his name. So,
100%.
So
again, following the Lucha tradition, passing it on to the next generation, and his son is going to carry on his legacy.
Yes, although he wants to look exactly like Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr, but
his real father.
So that's the captain of our team. I think it's a good dream team. I would certainly encourage our fans as they listen to drop in the comments section, wherever you see us on social or even on the podcast comment section, wherever you listen. Let us know if there's anybody that we missed, anybody that you think should be on this countdown, or future ideas for these dream teams. I think these dream teams are awesome. So we're we had a great time doing it, Tom. I hope you did.
Yep.
I hope
Love
you
the format.
just happy to endure my my Mexican pronunciations as well.
Yes.
And the accents I put on.
Fantastic job.
Yes. So we're gonna close out this week. We're gonna shelter here in the basement, and we hope you guys have a great night. For Tom, this is Mike, and we will see you guys at the matches.
Stern, my 30-day chip catches my eye every time I pass